We are now at the Britannia Beach Mine Museum. We saw this big copper rock here, and it's the main mineral. They also do zinc, iron, and lead.
Show us this copper rock. Look at this thing. Look at the colors. So cool.
Over its lifetime, Britannia produced 650,000 tons of copper.
That's enough to stretch a wire this thick around the entire world 9 times!
Whoa!
So now we are going to this building, the main building, where they would actually separate copper from the rocks using gravity. Dun, dun.
Minerals out of the ground, it's not a new thing. It's been going on for thousands of years, originally with First Nations groups all up and down the coast. But what about this place, the Britannia Mine? In 1888, long before roads and railways were built along this coast, a Scottish physician named Dr. Forbes traveled up Howe Sound by boat, and he carried his prospecting tools up to the summit of this very mountain, Britannia Mountain. You see, he was a miner at heart, and he discovered something up there that was soon to become one of the most useful and valuable minerals of the day, copper. Turns out this was a huge find. By the early 1900s, the development of a great mine was underway, digging mostly for copper, but also for gold, silver, and other ores. The Britannia Mine was a massive operation with a tunnel system running deep into the mountain. 210 kilometers of tunnels. There were vertical shafts that stretched from 1,300 meters above sea level to 650 meters below sea level.
Whoa.
At its peak of production, in 1928, there were 1,100 workers on the payroll. This 20-story concentrator or mill building is where the valuable ores, the copper, lead, zinc, gold, and silver, were separated from the waste rock. They could process as much as 6,000 tons of rock here each day. Starting at the top floor, the baseball-sized chunks of rock went through a series of crushers and a clever chemical process, so that by the time they reached the ground floor, this is what was left. No more waste rock, just the valuable minerals called concentrate. Produced more copper than any other mine in the British Empire. Copper from this little port made its way around the world. During World War II, battles half a world away had an impact on Britannia, and Britannia had an impact on them. Copper was needed for making ammunition like bombs and shells. In fact, the need was so great that the federal government exempted miners from being drafted into the army to keep as many as possible working in the mines to feed the need for copper. But finally, by the early 1970s, the mine was struggling to make a profit. It was the end of an era for this mine and for company towns like the beach and the town site, not only here, but across BC and elsewhere in Canada. In 1974, the last whistle was blown and the Britannia mine was closed.
They used to test the hard hat fitting by knocking a hammer on each other's heads, but one guy didn't work properly and his helmet was off, was not fitting, so he fell to the ground.
But fortunately, was not seriously injured.
That hurt.
So be sure your hard hat fits, is the lesson of this story.
Blasting boxes sent electrical current to the wires, and when you pressed it,
he had to go underground to make sure there was enough to mine. So he had to do some exploring, right? How do you think he did that? Do you think these tunnels were just here? No, probably not. Probably had to do a little bit of digging, right? Well, it wasn't such a simple process, and you had to use some very high-tech tools in order to do this. So I'm gonna ask you if you can name what one of these tools is. Are you ready? You're a smart group. I think you can figure this out. Okay, why don't you all say it? 1, 2, 3.
Hammer. Hammer.
Yes, right. You had to use a hammer, and they had to use a drill steel, and they had to dig into the rock, a little something like this. Pretty slow and grueling process.
Wow.
But as you may have recognized by now, this couldn't have been the most efficient way to keep exploring. So they had to make a few modifications. And that was when our first piston drill was introduced in 1905. This was a pretty solid piece of equipment to use. You notice anything about this specifically? Maybe a little bit on the big side. It's pretty heavy, right? Do any of you think you want to come and try and lift this thing?
No.
Yeah, well, it'd be pretty difficult. It's a little over 300 pounds. And it took about 4 to 5 miners to lift it. And there's something in this rock called silica, which you may have heard of. It's used in glass today to make glass. So it's essentially like little small particles of dust glass flying into the air. And the miners, they inhaled that dust.
Wow.
And that caused a really bad reaction with your lungs, which today we know leads to a disease called silicosis. So that was a huge health risk for miners back in the 1900s. The process a little bit easier. They were able to use this hollow drill, which the diamond drill was a hollow drill that was able to go deep into this rock and pull out a sample of the rock. And it came out looking something like this.
Yeah, these are all over
Nice and
Ontario.
smooth. And why do you think that the diamond drill is so good at that? Do you guys know what makes diamonds so special? One of the hardest materials known on this planet to man. So they were really good at cutting through that rock. It came out nice and polished. And they were able to send that back to the lab to confirm that there was chalcopyrite, based on how far back in the rock it was. So that saved them a lot of time in just going and sampling an area. Do you guys see any differences between these two drills?
Lighter.
Yeah, a lot lighter. And I will be giving you a fair warning. Just gonna get my
Covering them.
heater on here.
We're going to be hearing the noises.
All right, I'm just gonna turn the air on. And I'll give you a warning. Okay, and 3, 2, 1.
So they used to use the diamond drill to drill into rocks to see if they should drill more there to make another tunnel, and then it'll come out like this, and that will show them if there's any copper in that section of rock, if it's worth the drill into it. It saves them a lot of drilling.
Behind you.
And there's so many, and this is only one of 16 buildings from this mountain.
And they've logged in the dates.
Alright, I hope you guys are ready to get to work, because we are going to be working hard today. So we're going to get on the train that Eliza took us on, but it is not going to be 5 minutes. It is going to be 5 minutes. And the luxury train car we got before, we're miners now. Which means that we get, essentially, a tin can, no windows, stuffed in there with 11 other men. Woo! Very exciting. Now, I get really car sick. I'm probably not going to make it, but Eliza will make it, and she'll make it to our workstation, and this is what we're looking at. This is my workstation. But there's something helping me see my workstation that we would not have in the early 1900s. What is it?
The lights.
Lights! We don't have these in the 1900s, and even if we did, would we set them them up only to have them blasted out by dynamite.
Huh, yeah.
Probably not. That's a huge waste of funds. So, in order to show you what it's really like down here, I get to turn the lights off. So, keep in mind 2 feet on the ground at all times, and don't worry, I just checked for monsters. There's none. And if you're still scared, that's okay. I'm actually super scared of the dark. All you gotta do is look over there, because there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Awesome. All right, and
There we go.
3, 2.
Try working with this bunch here.
Oh.
Whoa, that's dark.
Now, everyone grab a shovel and get to work! Oh, no?
No, can't see. Can't
I can see all the
there we
phone
go.
users now. I see you.
This is for educational
like it.
purposes.
You're like, educational. It's educational.
We're on a field trip here.
Now, I like you guys. You guys are fun. You were nice to Eliza, which means I didn't grab the dynamite this time. I grabbed the candle. Because
Really?
this is what I get for my whole 8-hour shift down here. This is it. Now, I am going to stumble to my workstation. I'm going to take a look at that rock over here because I am a mucker, which means it is my job to clear all of this rock out of here because maybe it contains not gold, copper. Right? And then we're going to pop it into ore carts. Now there's 2 people working down here. It's going to be me and Eliza down here. And we each get 1 tool. And that tool is called
Shovel.
That was the Thank you, you 2.
Y'all
Y'all suck, though. The rest of you
one more
suck.
time.
We're going to try it again. This is called
Shovel!
And shovel. And shovel.
Look at the little
For
candle
8
there.
hours.
Yeah, break.
No. Maybe. If you laugh at my bad jokes, yeah, okay. Nah, I'm just kidding. Now, there's a problem with this. And particularly, it's this. Because did you notice it's quite wet down here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happens if a droplet of water hits my candle?
Out.
Is this a good situation to get stuck in?
No.
No.
Nope.
No, probably not, right? Especially when we're using a drill. So, we need a better tool. And that tool looks like this. Not this. This! This is the carbide lamp. It is the first headlamp down here. Now, inside is carbide. It's a man-made chemical. It mixes with water to create something called acetylene gas. And what is acetylene currently used for?
Acetylene, I know that. I know,
Yeah, it's familiar.
Acetylene.
We
It's
use-
like for really high explosive stuff, like acetylene pipes or.
It's for welding, blow
Welding,
torches,
yeah, that's right.
right? Cutting metal. Yeah, any of
Good
those
job,
I will
Dad.
take, right?
No, I
Wow,
won't.
there's so much water in here still. Okay, now I'm gonna pop that water in the top because this should work a lot better than a candle, right? A blowtorch? I'm promising you a blowtorch. There's a flint on here, which means all I need is a little bit of friction. Okay, wait, I got 3 shots. No one look, I get shy. Okay, no one look, I'm still shy.
Ooh.
Wow.
Now, this is the carbide lamp. Now, this works a lot better than the candle, right?
Yes.
But we need to chat about something, okay?
Much
Because
nicer.
this is a headlamp. How do we feel about that?
Have you a bomb on your
Do
head?
we feel good? Did you notice I don't have a lot of hair on one side? Nah, I'm just kidding. That's a bad haircut. It's not. Fortunately enough for me, battery powered has come in, but it doesn't look like this. It looks like this. Now
Oh my
this
gosh, that's massive.
is yes, this is the first electric headlamp. Okay, so it's a lead acid battery similar to the one in your car. I'm gonna pop it on my hip, that cord around the back on the top. Last 8 hours. Now, why do you think no one used it?
Awkward.
It's awkward. Yes, it's very heavy. It's a simple answer. This is ridiculous
Crazy.
because this weighs the amount of a newborn baby. So now I'm shoveling rock with it for 8 hours. Shovel in 1 hour, not 8. And fortunately enough for us, it is fully operational. And I'm going to ask Eliza to show us how that baby works. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Yep.
Good. So this is the second of 3 loud noises, which means we are going to cover up.
Years!
Oh, I love you guys. So responsive at 11 o'clock in the morning. All right, Eliza, I'm going to get behind this barrier and you're going to show us what this thing does.
All right, go ahead, follow it.
actual tradition here, and that tradition is this whistle. So
Oh,
this
cool.
whistle was blown 15 minutes before your shift, so you didn't miss your train, and I get to blow it because it's fun, and also gift shop needs to know we made it out alive, so we're gonna ring it for that. But it still rings with tradition, so we're still gonna blow it. Now this is the third, the last, the loudest noise, so please cover your ears. I know the mucking machine was not loud, but this is loud, okay? So cover your ears, and if you don't, I will make direct eye contact with you, and then I will blow it until you cave. Okay, and then Eliza will report me. No! Okay, you guys ready? I like that. I like watching. That's fun.
I'm becoming inventive.
I like it. You're following
Here,
my
babe, my
instructions.
elbow.
All right.
My elbow.
Hey!